Hey, party people. I'm Lia Scholl, pastor of First Friends here in beautiful Greensboro. I thank you for taking some time to be with us today. We're at 2100 West Friendly Avenue, so feel free to come by for our 11 a.m. semi-program service. That means that we have some silence in there, but if you're used to other churches, it's pretty similar to that. Or our 9 a.m. unprogrammed service that is mostly silence. If you would like more information, please feel free to reach out to us at office@firstfriendsmeeting.org. Today we're talking about the Bible and whether or not we should read it. So be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. I wonder, are you very conversant with the Bible? When was the last time you read the Bible? I mean, really read it. I mean, can you even find a readable version of the Bible in your home? I'm talking not King James, one that makes sense in the modern vernacular. And honestly, do you miss it, or do you really even care? Progressive Christians do not traditionally read the Bible on a regular basis. Somehow, in walking away from the conservatism of our youth, if we were conservative, we walked away from the Bible too. We rejected much of the theology of our forebears, like substitutionary atonement and exclusion, but we didn't go into our Bibles to find if there was a better way, a different interpretation that might lead us somewhere else. We were satisfied reading books about the Bible instead of reading the Bible itself. And we relegated the reading of the Bible and study of the Bible to the professionals, trusting that their liberal chops would sustain us too. There are a lot of reasons not to read the Bible. First, it's really hard. It's really hard. Those of us of a certain age are used to reading novels where we get to know either in first or second or third person characters. We learn their motivations. We may see them for only a short period of time, but we really don't get to know them. The Bible doesn't read like that. We only get short vignettes of individuals, vignettes of individuals. And it's hard to know who they really are. And then there's poetry, and it doesn't even rhyme. Second, even in the historical writing, the Bible doesn't use the same measure of truth that we use. The narration isn't neutral. The truth of the narrative becomes confused. Is this the same Joseph in the book of Matthew that we met back in the book of Genesis? Also, the span of the text flows through so many years and so many cultures that finding out what happened when is really difficult. This book spans more than 4,000 years by some accounting. Keeping track of all those generations are difficult. Third, some of this stuff is cray-cray, like this vision from Revelation. When I turned to see who was speaking to me, I saw 7 gold lampstands, and standing in the middle of the lampstands was someone like the Son of Man. He was wearing a long robe with a gold sash across his chest. His head and his hair were white like wool, as white as snow. And his eyes were like flames of fire. His feet were like polished bronze refined in a furnace, and his voice thundered like the mighty ocean waves. He held 7 stars in his right hand, and a sharp, 2-edged sword came from his mouth. And his face was like the sun in all its brilliance. I mean, if one of my friends called me up and said they had had that vision, I'd be worried about them. Fourth, it's kind of disturbing. There's a lot of violence in the Bible. There are stories about God telling people to go kill others. There are stories about God striking people dead. It's very messy. And finally, it contradicts itself. When we hear in one place, what we hear in one place, we find disagreed with in another place. For example, 1 Timothy tells us, "No longer drink only water, but take a little wine for the sake of your stomach and your frequent ailments." While Ephesians 5:15 tells us, "Do not get drunk with wine, for that is debauchery, and be filled with the Spirit." Which is it, Bible? Drink or don't drink? And the Bible contradicts itself in way more ways than just this. So why not toss it out, this Bible of ours? We can just as easily say that it is antiquated, boring, meaningless, contradictory, and in some ways just plain wrong. But let me tell you why we shouldn't throw it away. This book tells the sacred stories of our faith. Without a Bible, we are not really Christian. Sure, we may attend a Christian or Quaker meeting or a Christian church. We may believe in the tenets of Christianity, but being Christian means being part of a larger community, both modern and historical, and that community believes in the Bible. This book gives us the outlines of our faith. Sure, we struggle with its lack of complexity in some of the areas in our life, or its oversimplification of other things. And we also struggle with the complexity of the text and the way it oversimplifies issues in our lives. I find that much of the Bible makes faith sound like some sort of easy decision you make and merrily go on your way. And yet, in my own life, I find faith so much more difficult than that. This book tells us stories of people who are struggling just like us. The main questions it asks are, what is evil and why does it exist? Why do bad things happen to good people? What is required from me in this life? And who is my sibling, my brother, or my sister? In this book, the sacred text teaches us about who God is. Neither too simple nor too complex. Neither passive nor autocratic. Neither unbreakable nor crushable. And good. God is so good. And this book, this sacred text, teaches us about our relationship with that God. Without this book, we would know God as creator through nature. Without this book, we would know God as complex through our understanding of the complexities of the universe. Without this book, we would know God as present through those moments when we find ourselves so small and the universe so big, and the expansion of our heart helps us to know that something is bigger than we are. But without this book, we wouldn't know that God is love. That God's primary way of being in this world is through love of the general and love of the particular. That God's participation in this world is one of forgiveness and grace. That we are wholly, wholly loved by the holy. Without this book, we would not know that we should be shaped by that love. The text says, "Let your love, God, shape my life with salvation exactly as you promised. Then I'll be able to stand up to mockery because I trusted your work." So, is there a way that your life can be shaped by this holy text? I believe there is. And I believe it's a good thing to sit and reflect on that question for our lives. I hope to see you again next week. Take good care.